What we have in here today, it is probably one of the best and the sexiest Mercedes S-Class ever. Yes, that is a crazy claim to make for a car that is 15 years old, but hear me out, because this machine over here, it is packed with power and technology. So what we have in here, well, it's a 2003 Mercedes S-Class, also called the S55 AMG. Mercedes S-Class carries a heavy name. Throughout the history, leaders across the world have worked in these cars, they have traveled in these cars, they've done pretty much everything in these cars. From dictators, from prime minister, presidents, ambassadors, this is the car they've all used. Back in 2003, the biggest competitor for the S-Class was the BMW 750 Li. And let me tell you, the difference between this monster here and that car, it's massive. Also, back in 2003, the S-Class had a price tag of $100,000. 15 years later, you can pick up one for under 10K. And believe me, it's worth every penny. For today's video, I'm going to be showing you some of the cool stuff of the S-Class. I'm going to take it out for a spin and then talk to the owner about his experience with the S-Class. Now let's talk about the engine. This monster under the hood carries a V8 supercharged, producing 493 horsepower and 516 pound-feet of torque. It does 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds. This engine here was the same engine used in the SL Class and a bunch of other performance Mercedes. It is absolutely a monster. Stock, producing that much horsepower, this thing today can compete with other performance cars. Okay, well, let's start with some cool stuff about this car. Even though this car is 15 years old, it has the soft closing system. One of my favorite things about Mercedes is that the seat controls are not located under your seat, but are located at the door. So in this case in here, you can control pretty much everything on your seat. And at the same time, even though, again, this car is 15 years old, it comes with heated seats and cooling seats, and of course the memory seats. At the same time, on the door panel, you have control over 4 windows for the passengers in the back, passenger on your right side, and for yourself as well. The amount of air vents in this car, it's crazy. Well, you have one in here, you have one in here, you have one in here, one in here, in here, one in here, one in here, one in here, and one in here. Another interesting feature about the seats for the passenger and the driver is that you have the massage option over here, all the buttons. Now, they could have actually put it on the side of the door, but I think over here you have better access. At the same time, you have a special button here, which is called the dynamic button. So basically what happens is that if you're driving fast and you go into a corner, the side over here raised to make sure that you stay seated in your seat and at the same time you feel comfortable. In every other regular car you find a glove box. The same you do in here, but there is a little secret in here. Inside a glove box, this thing has another glove box. You just click this and look at that. You also have another extra glove box underneath your seat. You press these 2 buttons here and it opens and you got space underneath. Even though it is a 15-year-old car, this thing comes with parking sensor, but it's very interesting where they're located. So in order to do that, we have to put it into reverse. And then for the front parking sensor, you have this little thing in here that shows you the bars as you get closer to the object. And then for the rear, which I think it's actually one of the coolest things, and even cars today should have it, is in the back. The back sensor is located at the top where you can see all those 2 bars. The closer you get to an object, those bars are going to get full. And for the front, you have an extra one on the left of the dashboard. Another interesting thing about this car is that you have this little button here that you can raise the car. If, let's say, you have an obstacle in front of you and the car is way too low, if you press it once, the car will level, and then you press it twice, it rises up. Oh, there you go. So with 2 bars, you basically are at the highest level you can get the car. Another crazy thing about this is that on the passenger side, of the rear passenger, at the back, you have an ashtray and a lighter. The other interesting feature about this car is that for the passenger on both sides, at the back, you have visors. Look at that. For the passenger in the back, you have heated seats. This is the highest and that's the lowest. Another interesting feature about this car is that the visor in the front, every regular car has, of course, a visor and you have a mirror. In this case, you actually have 2. So this is a regular, and then you have sort of like the zoom in mode. Another cool thing about this is that you can control the rear shades from pressing this button here. I think it's time for us to take this for a quick drive and talk to the owner and the history of the car. Okay, so we're going to take it for a quick test drive, and for today we have my friend Alan here. Thank you so much. Appreciate the opportunity, man. Thanks for coming out in this cold weather. We're almost at 2 degrees today, I believe. So tell me a bit about the story. When did you buy it? How long have you had it?
So I've had this car about 2.5 years right now.
Okay.
And yeah, ever since, did a full paint job on it, a few minor mechanical work, nothing major, and yeah, this thing is a beast so far.
So, and how many kilometers have you put in this car?
I have put almost 30,000 kilometers in this car.
That's not bad. That's quite a lot. Yeah. And is it sort of like your daily driven car?
That is my daily driven car, yeah.
Nice. Now, a lot of people question these cars because they have a lot of issues, a lot of problems, they cost a lot of money. What's your experience so far? And again, I just want to add this, that doesn't mean that every other car is fine, but your personal experience.
I personally think if you keep something maintained, it'll treat you well.
Okay.
However, I know one major big problem with these cars is the ABC pump, which controls the ABC suspension and the power steering at the same time.
Okay.
They do go bad a lot on these cars, so I did replace that, and it's fairly inexpensive replacement.
What would be the cost with labor?
The cost with labor would go anywhere between $1,500 to $2,500, depending on where you do it. And if you take it to a Benz dealer, I'm sure it'll be a lot more.
Okay.
So yeah.
If you take it to an independent mechanic, probably it's going to be less than that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Any major problems with the engine?
Engine, no major problems with the engines. Valve cover gaskets, they happen to leak over time. The car is aging, so you do have to replace that. But 16, just regular maintenance. This car does have 16 spark plugs, so I did change that.
Okay.
But yeah.
You've done a few mods, I'd say, maybe a couple of mods.
Not to the engine and transmission, but exhaust-wise, yes.
Okay.
So this car's got a second cat delete, resonator, and mufflers.
Okay.
It still has its first cats.
Okay.
Just to avoid the check engine light. If you know what I mean.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Well, let's take it for a quick drive. Oh, that sounds good.
Oh, yeah.
That sounds really good. So could we do it? So if you had to do it in manual, you press manual here.
Yeah, you just have to press it. So pretty much it's one button that clicks over time.
Okay, so that's we're in manual.
One comfort.
And then you have in sport, manual sport.
Manual. Oh well, no. There's only manual.
There's only manual. So and then that's comfort. So DS sport, and then that's comfort. So this is manual mode.
This is comfort right now.
Oh, it's down a bit.
Yeah, because it raises it. Adjust. Remember how I told you?
So the cool thing about this is that it adjusts. Depends on the level of the car. That is so cool.
So once you put it back in drive, it adjusts in the normal mode to keep your alignment, set.
That is so sick.
Yeah.
For a 15-year-old car, that is so cool.
Absolutely.
And on top of that, so this helps when you're driving or when you're parked?
This helps when you're kind of parked, I would say. Well, it's not really helping. It's just keeping the car at a steady level.
Okay.
But yeah.
The crazy part about this thing is that it comes with huge brake pistons in the front, brake calipers. You got 6 in the front and 4 in the back. That's insane for a 15-year-old car. I mean, how many cars back then did it come with this kind of brake system? Like, rarely. I remember the BMW 7 Series, they had a single piston. It looked big, but it wasn't an actual big brake hit.
Yeah.
What's your favorite thing about this?
My favorite thing about this car is whether you decide to wake up one day and drive normal, or you decide and you're in the mood for a sport ride, you have it all in one car. And I feel like that's the biggest, most important, critical part. You get long trips, put in comfort, raise it up. ABC suspension gives it all on this car. I mean, it's by far the best, I would say.
This is, it's so much more relaxing than what I drive daily. Like, it's...
Yeah.
The only reason it's a bit loud right now is because we have the sunroof just tiny open on the side. Like, it's...
Yeah.
There's power on this thing. I mean, 493 horsepower, V8 supercharged. You can modify this. You can get a bigger, maybe different supercharger, or get an ECU tuning and probably reach like, what, 600 horsepower easily. I've seen some cars easily at 600 horsepower. For a car that's 15 years old, you get luxury, you get performance, you get comfort, everything you need on this car. And right now, if you go online to purchase one, you get them under 10,000 K. I know you're looking to sell the car right now, so if someone is interested, just let me know, just a comment, or I'll put his email, his Instagram, and you want to reach out and you're looking for something like this. The car is located in Ontario, Canada, not Ontario, California. I've had people get confused with that. They think it's Ontario, California. It's Ontario, Canada. So if you are interested in a vehicle like this, you can reach out to Alan, and or if you have any questions regarding buying one, that's the other thing. I personally think, and I said this in the beginning of the video, that I think this is probably one of the sexiest Mercedes S-Class ever, period. It looks, the actual design of this car, there's so many lines, there's so many angles you can look at it, and it looks so sexy. The previous models were not quite there. They're kind of like boxy, and then the newer one became a little bit boxy too. This is just perfect, and it's a long wheel base, so that's the other thing. It's sort of like a half limo if you had to look at it. There's very little gap when you're shifting this. Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a beauty.
Anyways, we're gonna go for another quick drive. If you guys are, if you are interested in this vehicle, let me know. The information is going to be in the description box. And if you are purchasing one and you have any questions regarding, you can reach out to Alan. I'm sure he'll help you. He has his own experience with this car, so he can tell you some things you can look for. So for today, I'd like to thank you guys. Thanks for watching, and thanks to Alan for coming out, man. Appreciate this.
Pleasure.
Thank you.